This is Roger. Oh, croaky Roger, thank you for dropping by. Where did that come from? A quick kitchen session. We'll play what's in my pot. These are two new orchids. You've seen unboxing, unwrapping videos for these two. This is a little dendrobium, and that's what I was expecting. It's a tiny little sphagnum plug. Luckily it's not too far gone, and then it was just wrapped in some more moss without removing the old moss, lazy people, and then just stuck in a little clay pot. Luckily the new roots that are pushing out from this plant are above the manky moss, so they haven't been lost. They haven't lost their growing tips or anything about them. They're still in good nick. And some of these inside this older moss don't look too far gone, quite honestly. This is not as bad as some. It would still be a hell of a lot better if that old moss had been taken off before it was put in its pot. But nonetheless, it's not too bad. There's a lump of something there. Can't work out what it is. Oh well, probably come off. I mean, this will have to go under the tap because I want to get all this old moss out. And picking it out is never that easy. You always miss bits, but running it under the tap will. And the other thing that running under the tap will do is it will hydrate these roots, yeah, because they are quite dry at the moment. But this is the new roots up here. They've got growing tips, yeah, and we didn't get that close a look at the plant, quite honestly. A lot of these canes are actively growing. Some have finished, but there are quite a few still in active growth, pushing out new leaves. And we've got one flower on here and a bud to open. And looking at the way the plant grows, it's even got a kiki down here, but it's got some little new growths at the base. Anyway, that one's going to go on a mount once I've just given it a wash off and made sure the roots are absolutely soaking wet. And then we'll get that on a mount. So that's that little one. And then this will be fun. This is my new nobile, which I did actually find the name out for. What a contrived way of finding the name. The plant had a label which was basically the trade seller. So I looked up the trade seller, I googled the name and found their website. And they don't sell many orchids. So there weren't many to look at, and basically I found this one very quickly. It stuck out like a mile because none of the others were like this one. So I thought we found it, but no, we hadn't, because what we'd found was a typo. Now I can see why those canes were staked. They're so heavy with those blooms. I'm going to take some of those blooms off. I want this to get going down here. It's already, you can see now we're out of the packaging. That's the new cane that got snapped, yeah? That's the main reason I think why people wouldn't buy it, yeah? But nonetheless, there's another new one. There's another new one round here, and I highly suspect that this area here with the damaged cane is going to shoot out again. So I should get another new growth from there, but I'm going to have to lean this over. This is incredibly top heavy with that weight of blooms. And we'll play what's in my pot. Now what's in my pot, for once, is pretty good stuff. And you know what, I'm very anti this stuff, whatever it is, coir, coconut fibre, whatever it is. Because this is not the sort of root system you would normally put a dendrobium in. It's like dirt. It's so fibrous. But nonetheless, this root system has done well in it. You have to bear in mind, we growers do not have perfect conditions very often. We get as close as we can maybe, but we don't have those perfect conditions. Whereas the nurseries where these are pushed on, you know, with their added hormones and whatever they do to them, they've got the optimum conditions. And as such, quite honestly, they'd probably grow in anything. But nonetheless, come the winter time, I'd water this and it would still be wet a month later. It's no good to me, this media, no good at all. Not when I've got a Dendrobium that's going to need to dry right off in the winter time and have a bit of a rest. So it's useless to me, but nonetheless, it has supported a very good root system for this plant. Now some of these roots are dead as a doornail, but they're mixed up with good ones. And until I can get all, I mean, look at it. That's the sort of stuff you'd put in a garden tub. It's not the sort of stuff you normally consider growing this sort of orchid in. So I've got quite a lot of dead roots in here. Ah, we found the old sphagnum plug. There it is in the middle. Well, those roots are dead. Don't even need to check those. Those are dead as a doornail. So we do have some dead roots to get out of here. And we do have some live ones that are not active. What I mean by that is they're alive, but they haven't actually got a growing tip on them. Nonetheless, they're viable. They will hydrate the plant. And in addition to that, they can branch. Just because they've lost their growing tip doesn't mean they're useless. But a lot of this is rubbish in the centre here. That's where the old plug was. So it's going to have a hell of a haircut. But I'll get it washed off first. I don't want to be, you know, that'll get me blinking scissors manky, this stuff. It's just like dirt. Well, I really do not like it. But I must be ultra careful with my little new growth, especially as one has already been lost. This is what shops do. They chop canes off. Now, if you're going to have an old cane that drops its leaves, it's a storage organ. That is a waste of space. Absolute waste of space. That stores nothing. It's useless. If you're going to either leave the cane or cut it off at the base, these stumpy things do not add to the attraction of the plant. So some of these are, well, that one's off anyway. So these will get trimmed at the base. They serve no purpose. I can't trim that one because the new growth's coming out of it, so that'll have to stay. And this broken cane, although it's snapped, I'm going to leave it. Yeah, I'm going to leave it because I want to wait for new growths to come out. It's possible one will come out of here as well. That looks very swollen at the base there. So maybe we might get another 2 new growths on top of the one I've already got. The canes on this were absolutely superb. These are really big, fat, plump canes. I was well impressed with that. But I will take some of the blooms off. They're fading now anyway, yeah? And their sheer weight is just going to pull that plant over. And when you repot a plant into new media, it's never that stable. And even putting a stake in there, the stake isn't very stable. So yeah, I'm going to take a fair few of those blooms off. I'll just leave a couple for now so that we can enjoy them a bit longer. But they're on their way out anyway, so they're not going to last much longer anyway. And I'd rather put the energy, instead of all the energy coming into there and maintaining that lot, I'd rather it put the energy down here at the base of the plant into that new growth and pushing on some others. So yeah, we'll get these 2 cleaned up, and I'll sort out a mount for this little one. Doesn't need to be a big one. Although this is a cuthbertsonii cross, what it's crossed with has put vigour into that and size. These canes are quite a lot larger than a species cuthbertsonii would be, and some of them are still growing. So yeah, nice little plant that. I was well pleased with that. It wasn't expensive. That nobile was £20, which in Burnham's is actually a cheap plant. You don't get many cheaper than that. And it's a pretty good plant. It's got some downsides to it, but I can make some out of that, no problem. And this little one was about 15, I think, so this wasn't expensive. And it's a good plant. New growths coming, several new canes coming, and some little ones at the base. This is an actively growing plant with some active roots and a basis to mount. So I'm well pleased with both of those. Right, tidy up time. I'll be back. Well, that was a novelty. That's never happened before. You see all those dead roots? They're not dead. what they were was filthy dirty and stained. There's hardly any dead roots on that root system. Consequently, I'm not even going to attempt to trim it. I'm just going to leave it as it is. Unfortunately, it is quite a tangled mess, and trying to get the media down in amongst that, not leaving loads of gaps, is going to be a pain. But nonetheless, I'm trying out one of my new pots. These are the opaque pots that I bought. So in theory, we shouldn't have any worries with algae. This is going to be almost impossible. But with a root system like this, I can't go any smaller, and I don't want to go any bigger. So I'm just going to have to work hard here at trying to get this down through those gaps. It will be quite hard as well. It's just such, you know, I suppose the sensible thing to do would actually be to thin the root system out so that the media gets right down in there. But it seems a waste to me, if you see what I mean. It is a good root system. It's got to be worth trying to keep it. But it is going to be difficult getting in all the gaps. But being a dendrobium, it's not as important as perhaps some other orchids to fill every single gap with media. A few air gaps is not the end of the world for an orchid like this. It's going to be difficult, very difficult. What I'm trying to do is at least get some down the sides, even if I don't get all the middle gaps filled up, because the roots always seem to head away from the plant, so they all end up at the edge of the pot anyway, one way or the other, whether by design or, you know, because you've let them get on with their own thing. But what I will have to do is really give this a heave. I've got my new growth under my thumb at the moment so that I make sure nothing moves near that new growth. There is only one. It's precious. Oh. Right, how are we doing? Still got some gaps down this side. So I'm hoping that eventually the base of the plant will be just sitting on the media, because gradually as I'm pushing this in, the plant's sinking down slowly but surely. But it's very unstable. Even with most of the blooms cut off, it's still top heavy. It's just the sheer weight of these big fat canes, which you can't really complain about, can you? If they were all wispy and shriveled, we'd be complaining. I can't believe how much media I've got in that pot. There's the jug. That was full. It's managed to virtually all go in there. Now I want the base of a nobile should just be sitting. I've actually got, that's not bad, but that's not going to stay up on its own. I daren't let go. If I let go, that will just fall. So I'm going to reuse the stakes that I was given on the ground that these are actually, they are wood, but they've got some sort of plastic coating on them, which stops them rotting. So with any luck, I can just, sorry, I'm just aiming this so that when it goes in, it runs alongside the cane. Otherwise it won't do a lot of good, will it? Yeah. This is where my third hand would be incredibly useful. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to let go of this because my clips are in the drawer, in the cupboard, and I need a couple of clips just to... Oh, it's alright, they're leaning up against the stake. Yay! I just need a couple of these clips in a couple of places just to secure the cane. There's one down near the bottom there. I think I'll do another one near the top. It'll just stabilise it a bit. I mean, these existing roots, there's no reason why some of those won't branch out or start growing. I don't have to wait for new roots on this because it's already an active root system. I know I'm off camera, but you can still hear me. You don't need to see my ugly puss. gnarly old hands, you know what I'm doing. Right, that's nice and upright now. And my new cane is basically towards the centre of the pot, and the other area where I'm liable to get a new growth is around here. There's two very swollen cane bases there. That one's been cut off, that one's been damaged. I think that was a new growth as well, and that got damaged and it got trimmed. So we've got one active new growth and the potential for a couple of others. So and we did actually find the proper name for this. I didn't go over that, did I? I started, I didn't finish. I'll finish now. I looked up the manufacturer, the seller, so the commercial company, probably trade only. And I went to the site and I found that plant. That was effortless. And on their site it said Monoko, M-O-N, Monoko. And that's all it said. Others on my YouTube channel, or it might have been on the Facebook group, I think it was on the YouTube channel, said that looks incredibly like Sweet Pinky. But what they didn't quite do was put the quotes in the right place, because they said Sweet Pinky Love. Well, the actual hybrid is Sweet Pinky. The variety name on top of that, yeah, that was registered was Love, so that bit should be in quotes, yeah. And what this is Sweet Pinky, not Momoko. That was a typo. It's Monoko. Sorry, the other way round. On the website it said Monoko, but it's a typo. It's Momoko. So when I looked it up, I found it straight away on that Orchid Roots site. Straight away it came up, picture spot on and everything, and right next to it was Sweet Pinky Love. So this is another named clone of Sweet Pinky. Anyway, there we go. So we have a name for it as well. Sarah didn't try very hard, did she? She said, oh, I can't find a name for that one. You didn't try very hard, did you? Still, sometimes it's just a matter of knowing where to look. Right, on to the mini. That mount looks a little large, but I think this plant's going to spread quite quickly. I'm going to grow it upright, and on this one I am going to have a small amount of moss underneath. I know I don't normally, but I've got a hell of a crevice in this mount, and something's got to go in there. So there's just going to be a small amount of moss under the plant, and then the rest of it is going to go on top of the plant. I'll probably have to put a couple of turns of the fishing line that I haven't even got yet over the top, and not very well prepared, am I? Well, this was an afterthought. Getting towards the end of the day, and I thought I really ought to get on and mount that little orchid, and if I'm going to do that and start making a mess in the kitchen, I'd just as well do the nobile type as well. So that's got it where I want it, and now I need to go and get my fishing line and scissors, and I'll be back. Right, that's better. Not very organised. So it's been a long day. Actually, it's been a long weekend with all the driving and the coach strip and stuff. So, and a lot of watering today as well to catch up. So it's the end of quite a long day, but not really a tiring day, just a long day. And, I know I normally do the loop first, but this isn't going to fall off. There's certain things you try and mount, if you don't put the loop on first, you're going to lose your plant. It's just going to fall off as soon as you look at it. I'm confident this one's going to stay there. I'm going to look at right whatnot if it does fall off after saying that, aren't I? Can't argue with a confident man. Right, squiggle, squiggle. Gotcha. Right, now we need to a couple of turns around where the roots are, make sure they stay put. And then I'm going to have to find a place to thread through the plant and at least grab a couple of canes. Actually, I don't need to. I'm just going to grab one. What I don't want is the plant flopping forward, but it isn't. It seems to be wanting to stay upright. But nonetheless, to be absolutely certain, I'm going to grab one cane and just make sure it does stay upright. I can thread that through and get one of the ones at the back. Got it. So now it can't fall over. I mean, it is a single plant at the end of the day, and one of its rear canes is now secured. So that'll do. Nice one. Not too much waste either. That makes a change. Desperately trying to keep my sleeves rolled up, simply because I've still. It is currently nearly 5 o'clock in the afternoon and I've still got my dressing gown on. I've been so lazy today, I haven't even bothered getting dressed. You don't need to know that, do you? But it's just in case my funny shaped sleeves actually turn up in the video. I've been a right lazy type today. But I had no reason to go out. I've got nowhere to go. You know, I don't need to look pretty. And if I need to look pretty, it takes hours to achieve that. And then it doesn't really work. Right, there we go then. That's nice and upright. Got new growths coming out in various places. I think that'll do okay. And quite a lot of active roots coming down here. Well, those are going to push on now, and they've got somewhere to get. And any that go down the back of the plant are going to get straight onto the mount, which is good stuff. So I've got a few loose bits of moss. Find somewhere to tuck them in. Actually, it's not necessary, there's more than enough there. So that's that little one then. Another bloom to open very shortly. And looking at the size of the canes and the fact that the bloom comes straight out the top, I suspect we're going to get some more in amongst here, in amongst these canes. These are still growing at the moment, they're still opening leaves. And I reckon when they mature, we might get some more blooms. So that's that one, cuthbertsonii cross, and the nobile in the pot. So see you next time. Bye for now.